Hey, what's up, everybody? Fredric Poag here. So there's two stories that dropped yesterday that perfectly encapsulate this culture war that we're in with white supremacy. But before I get into that, please like and subscribe. It helps me out. And if you want to see my face again, it helps out with that too. All right, let's get into it. So we all saw images of the east wing of the White House being demolished. And a lot of folks were rightly upset by that because, once again, Trump lied in saying that he wasn't going to touch the east wing of the White House, which is close to this new $250 million ballroom that he's building, supposedly with private donor money, which none of the donors have been released, although I believe one person has said they do it. He's a Trump donor. So we don't know how much foreign influence is there, but I'm sure it's probably a lot, given all the other ventures that Trump has and the Trump meme coin and everything else. But here's the big problem with this. Beyond just this gaudy ballroom and everything else that he's doing with the Oval Office, which, you know, like everything Trump does, it looks like a presidential suite at some 1970s horrible casino in Las Vegas. This is really about not just him, but wrecking the institutions of America. See, the White House has stood for, through everything, as the people's house. John Adams was the first president to actually live in the White House. It was built on a piece of swampland in a district that really was just sort of given the, here you go. Built by slaves. It's more than just a symbol of, it's more than just a house. It's a symbol of America. It's more than the resident of the presidency. And for most presidents that have occupied the White House, they understand that they're a part of that legacy. Yeah, there's been upgrades and there's some that have made additions, like even with Jacqueline Kennedy and the Rose Garden and some other thing. But for the most part, the occupants in the White House understood that they were only there on a temporary basis. That's why there wasn't a lot of changes from administration to administration. That's why the Resolute Desk, which was a gift given by Queen Victoria, is still in the Oval Office today. And it hasn't been upgraded or modernized or any of that, because that office represents a stability of the peaceful transfer of power. Whereas now Donald Trump has made it all about Donald Trump. I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to put his name on place somewhere. And the other one is the nomination by the Trump regime of Paul and Gracia. Now, of course, just like a lot of Trump's nominees, text messages were leaked recently that were pretty horrendous. One, said he was a National Socialist streak in him. And the other was that the MLK holiday, Juneteenth, Kwanzaa, which is not a recognized federal holiday, but part of Happy Holidays, that they all needed to be wiped out. They need to be, quote, eviscerated, unquote. Why is he saying that? Well, because white supremacists want to control the historical narrative, because then they get to push a version of America that has never existed. This notion that we're a white Christian nation, which we've never really been a quote unquote Christian nation. We've had Christianity in our nation, but we've never recognized one religion as the state religion. And the founding fathers specifically didn't want to do that for very good reason, because they saw what that did in Europe and tried to avoid that. Now, that doesn't mean we haven't had Christian supremacy. We haven't had issues with Protestantism. We haven't had issues with white supremacy, because that was sort of baked into the culture. But there wasn't anything positive about that. There was slavery, which the Free Fist Clause, how that the Civil War, Jim Crow, the Reign of Terror that happened there, the massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Black Wall Street, you name it. Trail of Tears, Chinese Exclusion Acts, I could go on and on. But that's why they want to get rid of those holidays, because the reason you celebrate those days, you honor a man like Martin Luther King, who devoted his life to civil rights, to activism, who himself was a preacher. You have to reckon with, why is he being honored? Same thing with Juneteenth. You have to reckon with, why were slaves, newly emancipated slaves, when they found out in Galveston, Texas, suddenly given to celebration? That's why they hate critical race theory. That's why Trump and his supporters are so keen for him to rip apart the People's House and try to make it his own. Because they have no interest in advancing this country to become something that is more diverse, more equitable. Because when you talk about the People's House, when you talk about the contributions made from other folks, women, gays, other ethnicities, Asian Americans, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, Jewish Americans, go down the list, you see that they all contributed something to this country and our culture. And that means that we are truly a diverse society, whether they want to admit it or not. That's why they want to stamp it out. There's a part of me that finds it ironic that a man with the name Gracia doesn't understand his own history, where people that look like me didn't consider him white along with the Irish. And that Columbus Day, the only reason it existed was because FDR did it for Italian Americans to get their vote in the Northeast. And that was palatable to white America because they at least knew who Columbus was. That's why it's why it's called Columbus Day and not Italian American Day, because don't want to upset those white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Keep the faith, democracy. And I'll see you later.